For years, my husband let his family plan every vacation, always without asking me. I'd just be handed the itinerary and told, "We'll find a way to fit you in." When I finally said no, he said, "But they've already booked it." So I booked my own trip. Sent a postcard to their hotel with one sentence. This time, I didn't wait for an invitation. It arrived 2 days before they realized I wasn't coming. This isn't one of those stories where everything explodes overnight. No, this was slow. Years in the making. It crept in little by little, like water soaking into the walls of your house, until one day you realize you've got rot. And then you can't stop smelling it, can't stop seeing the cracks you used to ignore. That's what it felt like being married to Joe. We've been married 13 years. I met him in Denton, Texas, when I was 26. I was working nights as an ER nurse, drinking too much coffee and never enough sleep. He was a paramedic, steady, calm, kind. Or at least I thought so. We got married fast. It felt easy, familiar. And maybe that should have been the first sign. Because easy isn't always good. Sometimes it just means you're not being seen. The first time I met his family was over Christmas. They all lived about an hour and a half away in Garland. Big house. Big opinions. His mom, Carol, ran the show. His dad, Stan, was quiet, but not in a warm way. More like he didn't care enough to talk unless it was about football or his grill. Joe's sister, Bethany, talked a mile a minute but never asked questions. His brother, Mark, treated me like I was invisible unless he needed something. And the weirdest part was, none of it felt personal. They acted like that with everyone who wasn't them. But I thought, okay, just families being weird. Everyone's got baggage. I figured if I smiled enough, helped in the kitchen, played nice, they'd come around. They never did. That first year, they planned a trip to New Braunfels in the summer. I didn't even know about it until a week before. Joe came home with a grin and said, "We're going tubing on the river next weekend." My mom already got the cabin. Should be fun, right? I just stood there. Did anyone ask if I was free? He blinked like it hadn't even occurred to him. Well, you can move your schedule around, right? I ended up going. Slept on the couch because the extra bed they promised was a blow-up mattress that deflated halfway through the night. No one asked if I was okay. I cooked breakfast both mornings while Carol sat at the table giving advice on how to organize better. When I asked if we could stop at this antique store I liked on the way home, they all groaned like I'd suggested we detour to Alaska. That became the pattern. Every vacation after that. They booked a cabin in Branson, Missouri, told me 3 days before. A ski trip to Colorado, found out from a group text I wasn't even originally on. A beach trip to Gulf Shores. Learned about it when Bethany posted it on Facebook. Every single time, it was the same. "We'll find a way to fit you in." Like I was a puzzle piece that didn't really belong. I brought it up to Joe more than once. Quietly at first. Then louder. "Why don't you say something?" I asked. He'd always sigh and rub his eyes like I was exhausting him. They don't mean anything by it. Just go with the flow. It's easier that way. Easier for who? Then came last summer. The one that changed everything. I overheard our 9-year-old talking about how excited he was to go to Maine. Maine? I said. Since when are we going to Maine? He stopped coloring and looked confused. Dad said we're flying to Maine next week. Grammy said we're gonna see whales. I felt like I got slapped. I walked into the kitchen and stared at Joe, who was scrolling on his phone like nothing was wrong. "Want to tell me about this trip to Maine?" I asked, my voice flat. He looked up. Froze. "Oh, yeah. I meant to tell you. My mom booked a place in Bar Harbor. It's all taken care of. Flights and everything. Without asking me? It's just how she does things. It's not a big deal." I remember the way he said that. It's not a big deal. Like I was making something out of nothing. Like it was completely reasonable to leave your wife out of family plans and just expect her to fall in line. That night, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I made dinner. Bathed the kids. Watched a show with Joe like nothing was wrong. Then, when he went to bed, I stayed up. I sat at the dining table with my laptop and a glass of wine. And I thought, what would it look like if I mattered? By 3 a.m., I'd booked a solo trip to Sedona. 1 week. Spa hotel, private hiking guides, massage appointments, and peace. I even paid extra for a room with a view. I took the postcard from the hotel welcome kit, wrote exactly 1 sentence, and addressed it to their hotel in Maine. This time, I didn't wait for an invitation. I dropped them off at the airport with a smile. Joe kissed my cheek, still assuming I'd show up at the gate like always, even though I had no bag, no boarding pass, no expression. 2 days later, I was sipping iced tea under a red rock cliff while my husband and his family stood in a hotel lobby wondering where the hell I was. That was just the beginning. I didn't turn off my phone, but I put it on silent and slid it into the drawer of the nightstand. For once, I didn't care who was calling. I spent the first day in Sedona soaking in silence. No one asking me to do anything. No passive-aggressive comments. No fake smiles. The second day, I finally checked my phone. 12 missed calls from Joe. 3 from his mom. 2 texts from Bethany asking if I was sick. 1 text from Joe that just said, "Where are you?" I didn't respond. I left it unread. Instead, I got dressed and went on a solo hike with a guide named Marla. She was in her 50s, sun-weathered skin, sharp eyes. Didn't talk much unless I asked something. Halfway through the trail, she looked at me and said, "You're not here just to see the rocks." I smiled. "No. I'm here to remember who I am." That night, back at the hotel, I checked my phone again. Joe had sent a wall of text. "This is not okay. You embarrassed me. The kids are asking questions. You could have at least told me. Mom is furious. You're being selfish." Selfish. That word stopped me. Selfish is what they called me every time I asked to be considered. Selfish is what they called me when I wanted to say in where we went, where we stayed, how our family spent our time. But leaving me out of every plan for a decade? That was just them being them. I still didn't answer. Instead, I posted 1 photo on Instagram. Me in front of Cathedral Rock. Smiling. Free. Caption. Not waiting around anymore. I didn't tag anyone. An hour later, my best friend Jessica texted me. "Girl, what is going on? Your mother-in-law just posted some crazy rant about family betrayal." I pulled it up. Carol had posted a long, dramatic paragraph on Facebook about how some people turn their backs on family, how vacations are for bonding, and how hurtful it is when someone disappears without warning. She never mentioned my name. She didn't have to. The comments were brutal. Her friends all chimed in, calling me immature, saying I should be grateful, asking what kind of woman abandons her husband and kids. I didn't reply. But the twist came the next day. Joe flew back early. He showed up at our house with the kids without warning, without telling me. I was still in Sedona. Jessica called me from across the street. Joe's home. He looks pissed. He's outside unloading the car with the kids. Are you coming back early? No, I said calmly. Let him sit with it. He called that night. I finally picked up. What the hell are you doing? He snapped. You just left. I didn't leave, I said. I just didn't follow. Silence. You made your point, he said coldly. So now what? You feel better. No, I said. Not yet. But I will. That was when the real problems started. By the time I flew back home, the temperature in that house was colder than the hotel air conditioning I'd left behind. Joe didn't pick me up from the airport. He didn't text. Nothing. I Ubered home and walked into my own house to find the dishwasher open, kids' laundry half done, a stack of mail untouched, and Joe asleep on the couch in front of the TV like nothing had happened. He barely looked at me. I dropped my bag and said, "Where are the kids?" At my parents' place, he muttered, not taking his eyes off the screen. Why? He finally looked up. Because I needed a break. I blinked. You needed a break? He stood up. Yeah. You think you're the only one who's tired? You think you're the only one who needed space. You didn't need space. You needed control, I said. And for once, you didn't get it. That got under his skin. I could see it. His jaw tightened. His voice dropped low, sharp. So this is what it is now? You want a war? Fine. Let's do this. The next few weeks were hell. Carol called the kids every day, asking them if Mommy was feeling better yet. She showed up at their school once with cookies and made some passive-aggressive comment to their teacher about how rough things must be at home. Bethany posted cryptic quotes on Facebook about fake women and family destroyers. I blocked her. Joe stopped wearing his wedding ring. And I started sleeping in the guest room. Then came the twist I didn't expect. One night, while he was out, I opened his laptop to look for a file, something boring and practical, and up popped a folder on the desktop. It was labeled tax. Curious, I clicked. Inside were PDFs from his recent emails between Joe and a realtor, listing consultations, property estimates. One email even asked if he was still looking to sell alone or if your spouse will be involved. I sat there for a long time. Then I started digging deeper. Found emails to a woman named Jenna. No nudes. Nothing explicit. But long, emotional exchanges about how things haven't been right in years and how hard it is to be married to someone who resents your family. He said he felt trapped, like I was pulling away from everything that matters. And then I found one sentence that made my blood run cold. Sometimes I wish she just wouldn't come back. I didn't say anything right away. I made a plan. I gathered everything: emails, screenshots, property info. I made copies. One for my lawyer, one for myself, and one that would come in handy later. Then I waited for the right moment. I waited 2 weeks. 2 long, quiet weeks. I let Joe think he was still in control, still calling the shots. I cooked, did laundry, got the kids to school, smiled when I needed to. I even let him sleep in our bed again. He didn't notice how careful I was. How I avoided leaving a single fingerprint on his laptop again. How I backed up everything to a flash drive that I kept in my sock drawer. Then, one morning, after I dropped the kids off, I went to see a lawyer. Her name was Trina Ruiz. Straightforward. Sharp. Wore boots instead of heels and didn't waste time on small talk. I handed her the flash drive. She plugged it in and didn't flinch once as she scrolled through. You want to take him for everything? She asked. No, I said. I want him to see what it feels like to be left out of every plan. We filed for divorce that same week. I didn't tell Joe right away. I let the papers speak for themselves. They arrived at our door on a Wednesday. I was at work when he called. You filed. His voice cracked. Without even talking to me first? I paused. Yeah, I said. Kind of like how you planned every vacation for 10 years without talking to me first. But this is serious, he said, like I was too stupid to understand the weight of what I'd done. So were all those decisions you made. You just didn't care enough to think they'd cost you anything. He was silent. And then, you're ruining the kids' lives. I didn't respond to that one. Because I knew better. The damage had already been done. He just never thought he'd be held responsible for it. And I wasn't done. See, the night before the papers arrived, I sent one last postcard. Handwritten. Sent directly to Carol's house. This time, I planned for myself. 2 days later, she showed up at my door. You ungrateful, she started, eyes wide and wet. I didn't let her in. I stood in the doorway, calm. I know about the emails, I said. I know about the real estate calls. And I know your son told another woman he wished I wouldn't come back. She blinked. I don't owe this family anything. Not after how you treated me. Then I shut the door. The custody talks got ugly after that. Joe fought hard. Claimed I was emotionally unstable. Said the trip to Sedona was abandonment. His lawyer tried to drag me through the mud. But I had everything. Proof of his emotional affair. Proof he tried to sell our house behind my back. Witnesses from our kids' school who'd seen how involved I was. Even Jessica testified about how I used to cry after every family trip. How I'd smile for photos while falling apart inside. In the end, the judge granted me primary custody. Joe got weekends and 1 week in the summer. The look on his face when he heard it, that mix of disbelief and panic, that's something I'll never forget. I kept the house. Carol wasn't allowed to be alone with the kids unless I approved it. I sold Joe's truck. Legally, it was under my name. He hadn't noticed when I refinanced it after our last vacation. It paid for the new start I was building. The kids and I moved to a smaller place outside Denton. Quiet neighborhood. New school. No drama. I sleep well now. I travel when I want. And every now and then, I send myself a postcard when I get somewhere new. Just to remind myself that I waited too long to matter to people who never truly saw me. Never again.